first thought he was going to attack that blue car behind his Impala because I figured he would never attack the Impala. But no, he did. He just starts bashing the crap out of it. This is Venus Brown back with our blast from the past, and this is for Supernatural Season 2. Now on this set, I am going to be breaking these up into 5 episode blocks. So after 5 episodes, I will release a video. I'm doing this because Supernatural has very long seasons and I want to break it up so that there are more videos coming out a little more regularly because it will take me a while to get through all 20 episodes. This is Venus Brown back with another blast from the past, and we'll get started with the Season 2 road so far. Let's take a look.
There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Back in 1835, Samuel Colt made a special gun. They say this gun can kill anything.
The Colt is gone, and it seems pretty damn likely that the demon is behind all of this.
Whoops. Crossroads are where pacts are made. Selling your soul. Rituals like this, you gotta put your own photo into the mix, right?
I know all about you, Dean Winchester.
I'm looking for the best and brightest.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
This is a competition. Only one of you crazy kids is gonna make it out of here alive. You're tough, you're smart, you're well-trained. Sam, you're my favorite.
Sam, Dave! Sam, look out!
Carry on our wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
This episode is called My Time of Dying because in this episode, Dean is dying. It looks like he is not going to make it, but we're going to see how the Winchesters work. And we'll get that first glimpse at how the dead may never die. We start out at the beginning of the episode with this demon-possessed guy who's just pretty much done in the Winchesters. Now Sam wakes up, but Dean, he's about to die, but hasn't quite left his body yet, and the Grim Reaper hasn't come for him yet, but we're going to see that is going to change. John Winchester has woken and offered Sam a credit card to pay their bills under the name of Elroy McGillicuddy. Funny in my opinion, because back when I was a teenager, we lived with one of my aunts and uncles, and they used to tell us these stories about Mrs. McGillicuddy, a ghost that would haunt the house, which she basically used as a way to scare my brother into doing what he was supposed to do and not doing things like sneaking into food in the fridge. It just cracked me up because that's what it reminded me of. I guess it's one of those like old wives' tales or something like that. Here we have Bobby and Sam check out the Impala, and it is not doing well. Neither is Sam's laptop. Bobby was like, we really need to just pick this thing apart for parts and get rid of it. You know darn well Dean ain't gonna have anything to do with that. Dean, of course, is having his out-of-body experience, and he's like, I have done everything that you've ever asked. And of course, John is going to do something, but he's not showing it to the boys. He does not want them to see or know about what he is planning. And since Dean's been having this whole out-of-body experience, and he's been trying to communicate with people, trying to get them to hear him or see him or something, they're fighting, and he keeps telling them to shut up. And he finally gets so pissed off, he screams, shut up, and knocks this glass right off the table. He runs into this lovely lady who, by all accounts, appears to be in a similar situation. She is on the verge of death before the Grim Reaper comes to get them. And since Sam feels like Daddy is not helping, and he feels like he's been feeling Dean, like something is going on. So he goes and he gets himself a Ouija board. And Dean is like, really? Are we seriously going to do this? He lets Sam know that he is in fact there and that he is trying to chase this Reaper. Of course, his father had left to go and try to summon a demon, facing death head on and refusing to die. It's old Yellow Eyes. He's going to make that deal to bring back Dean, but it's in exchange for a heavy price. Dean, though, found out that this girl was actually the Reaper, just cosplaying as a dead girl. We get to see old Yellow Eyes possess the Grim Reaper. Dean's all better. All of the issues that had him on his deathbed are miraculously gone. But Sam is just so angry and hurt with his father that he is just going at it, and then picks up on his father's behavior that something is not right. After Sam leaves the room, John proceeds to apologize to Dean for always putting him through so much when he was a kid. I don't know if you can see it in this image, but there is actually a tear coming from John Winchester's eye. Of course, since old Yellow Eyes went along with the bargain, John has to pay the price for his side of this bargain. Sam walks into the room, and John is on the floor with a bullet to his chest, and I think we know it's from that Colt. All right, everyone, this is Season 2, Episode 2, called Everybody Loves a Clown. Now, this is where we find out Sam is kind of afraid of clowns. It's a little amusing. I actually thought it was a bottle episode before, but after rewatching it, it actually seems to be part of the storyline. Not the clown part, but the rest. And this here is the lovely clown that is invading people's lives, especially young, vulnerable children. Now, last episode, we did see John on the floor. In this episode, he is verified to be dead, and this is him burning on a funeral pyre. And upon Sam asking Dean if John said anything before he died, Dean replies that he said nothing. Sam has found his father's phone and found a message on it for his father, so they decide to go and investigate. Upon investigating, they end up held up by Ellen and her daughter, who apparently are very acquainted with their father. They find out, as they will with many others, that this is another one of the people that their father has said nothing to them about. And then we meet Ash, and he, contrary to his appearance, is actually quite smart and is a demon tracker. And he offers to track the demon that killed John. While they were spying out Ellen's place, they found out about this clown case, and Dean is asking Sam why on earth you're going to go ahead with a clown case when we know how afraid of clowns you are. Of course, he makes a joke about it. This child is telling this father, he's my friend. Yeah, I don't think you want to make friends with this clown. All right, and now Sam and Dean are having a heart-to-heart. Sam tells him he is having second thoughts about quitting the whole monster hunting thing and going back to college, that he might actually stay in the family business. Now, while they thought that the clown might have been some sort of spirit, spirits don't smash through doors, so they realize he can't really be a spirit. Sam and Dean go look for clues for what the heck they're actually dealing with. And at the circus, they had been talking to this blind guy that I think all of us thought was pretty innocent. But it turns out this clown suit was in his belongings, and he turns out to be the clown. The type of monster this clown is, they have to stab him with a brass knife. Sam finds there are brass pipes on the pipe organ and uses one of those pipes to stab the clown. Now, back with Ash, he has been hard at work, and he has created a demon tracker that he is going to use to find our old Yellow Eyes. And Dean confronts Sam like, you have been at Dad's throat all this time, and now all of a sudden you're acting like you really want something to do with these cases. He doesn't understand. Like, why are you all of a sudden so infatuated with Dad and these cases and finding old Yellow Eyes? And Sam is like, I just miss the guy, even though we were always at each other's throats. By the end of the episode, Dean is so freaking upset and ticked off, and I first thought he was going to attack that blue car behind his Impala, because I figured he would never attack the Impala. But no, he did. He just starts bashing the crap out of it.
All right, everybody, I'm back with episode 3 of Supernatural. This one's called Bloodlust. Now, we start out with this girl running through the woods. Somebody is after her, and then they catch up with her and cut her head clean off. Now we see that Sam and Dean are back in the Impala. It is all in nice, brand new shape and condition. Everything is shiny and pristine. All right, now Sam and Dean go to discuss this new case with the sheriff in town. And they think that there is a connection between these girls that are getting their heads cut off and these dead cattle that are being drained of blood. And the sheriff is just like, seriously, there's nothing going on here. Like, he actually seems to think that what's going on with the cows is a normal everyday thing. Obviously not, but whatever. Now, I'm not sure that this actually has anything to do with the episode, but Dean asks Sam about some Florida cases where they put reverse pentagrams on their forehead or something like that. And he's just like, there's always all this fucked up shit that goes on in Florida, which cracked me up. I live in Florida, and it seriously always seems like there is some messed up thing going on here. There is a reason that we have this meme about the Florida man. There's even a show called The Florida Man. And that doesn't even touch into all the messed up political shit that we deal with. But yeah, lots of messed up stuff. And sometimes people will say, well, there's messed up stuff that goes on all over the world. Yes, there is. But we seem to just really attract a lot of attention when it comes to the Florida man. Anyway, just cracked me up. And while they're at the morgue examining the victim, they find retractable teeth, which apparently are from a vampire. Now, while Sam and Dean are trying to figure out what's going on with this case, they find out this guy's been tailing him. And we have our guy from This Is Us. I used to watch that show all the time. Now I don't have access to it, so I can't finish watching episodes. But I loved it, and I would cry every single episode. Anyway, back to the show. So this guy turns out to actually be a vampire hunter. He is after the vampires that they are after and tells them to just back off. He does know about them, though, because he has met their father in his hunting experiences, expresses his sorrows for their dad being gone, and tells them that he's heard good things about them. Now, just as our vampire hunter is getting ready to have his head sliced off, Sam and Dean come to the rescue. In return, our vampire hunter takes them out for a drink, and Sammy is not all that happy about the whole cutting off heads thing. But the other two are just like, you gotta have some fun with your job. Yeah, he gets up and leaves. So while Dean's talking to the vampire hunter and finding out his story that he got into vampire hunting after his sister got waxed by one of the vampires, Sam proceeds to call Ellen, and she tells him that he's a really good hunter, but he's dangerous. Stay away from him. You don't want to work with him. So, yeah. Now, a little later, Sammy gets kidnapped by the vampires from the nest of the guy that they had just killed. And this guy decides to show his fangs. But she comes in and tells him to calm down, that this is not necessary, this is not something they do. Apparently, these vampires actually don't kill people. They have a practice of getting their blood from cows, which apparently satiates them enough to keep from having to kill people. And which also explains the connection with the cattle and the decapitated vampires. Now, Sam's vampire captors actually let him go, and he tries to explain this to Dean, but Dean goes on this rant about how all these supernatural creatures are the same. They're all evil. And I think we get the same argument multiple times throughout the series. So this is not the first time we're going to hear it. It's not the first time we're going to see examples of different shades of evil versus good when it comes to these monsters. And by the end of the episode, we will see Dean change his tune a little bit. But I'm pretty sure that there are other episodes where he goes back to this black and white thinking, that they're all the same, they're supernatural, we need to kill them. It is a kind of balance that does reoccur throughout the show. Now, after Sam and Dean had their little spat, they come to find out that Gordon, the vampire hunter, has taken their keys. They have to hotwire the car, and luckily Sam actually has a good memory, able to track them pretty well and get to them before Gordon killed them all. When Sam and Dean get to Gordon, he's already started slashing into this girl with some dead man's blood, which poisons vampires, and we learn that on this episode. He suggests to them that they join in on torturing this girl until she tells them where the monster's nest is. Gordon tries to show Sam and Dean that it doesn't matter that these people are not trying to kill humans, they're still monsters because they're vampires. There's no in between. And so he cuts Sam's arm. So while this girl is having a natural reaction to Sam's blood, she stops and starts to retract her teeth. Even though this blood is making her react, she is still not like that, and she is not going to hurt anybody. It's not black and white. There is this shade. Dean has this fight with Gordon to try to keep him away from Sam and the other vampires. And the guy tries to insinuate that him and Dean are the same, that they're the same kind of killers. And Dean calls him a sadistic bastard because this guy actually said that after he found out that his sister got turned, he went and killed her because she was no longer her, she was a monster. Again, with the shades of morality. Now, after all this is said and done, Dean is like, this case really messed things up. All these killings we've done throughout the years, some of them could have been good, and we were just killing them because we had so much anger and hatred for them and just assumed that they were evil. So there's that shift in Dean where he's seeing that maybe it's not always all black and white. This is Season 2, Episode 4, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. We start out with a beautiful girl talking to her best friend about her awful, awful boyfriend who has apparently been cheating. And he comes over to try to do whatever it is that he's going to do, grovel, whatever, but she has already left the building. He calls her, she's freaking distraught. Really bad idea. Don't go driving while you're distraught. Go take a walk. Go to the freaking playground. Something like that. But don't go driving. Really bad idea. This ends up in her getting into a car accident and dying at the scene. And so, of course, we have her bloody cell phone here because she is bleeding all over it. Now, Sam has stopped at his mother's grave to pay his respects in her memory, and he thought that it would be good to leave his dad's dog tags, which Dean didn't want anything to do with. Something about the whole thing, I think, maybe is too much of a sealer or something like that. It bothers him too much. Instead, while he's there, he notices this grave site. All of the ground is completely dead in a circular area. Large tree, but it's now completely dead, which he takes notice of and thinks is mighty strange. And goes to the dad of the girl that was buried there. Finds that he is a teacher. He has books on necromancy that were Greek in origin. And so Dean begins to suspect that the dad is involved with all the dead above her grave, which he says is signs of unholy ground, and suspects that the dad tried to bring her back to life. Sam tries to counter how he's reacting with the father, saying that what he's experiencing is normal because he says that he keeps feeling her presence. But Dean associates that with him trying to bring her back to life. At the home of the dead girl's ex, he's been getting visions of her and sees her in this image, a reflection that looks very much like her from when she died. Next thing you know, he's dead. And while Dean is checking out the dead girl's roommate shows up, and she is distraught, but not just because her roommate has died, but also because her roommate's ex has killed himself, supposedly. Understandable that she's shaken up. When Dean was inspecting the dead girl's room, found her diary and has been reading that, and found that, of course, her ex-boyfriend had been cheating on her, and she has been leaning heavily on her best friend. Sam and Dean go and talk to her best friend, is okay and can grieve on his own, and does look a little suspect. But when they bring up the ex killing himself, he thinks it is a suicide of guilt for cheating on her. Dean drags Sam along to try to dig up the bones of this girl, but when they open the coffin, they find nothing there except for this torn up top and this writing in Greek. Dean takes a copy of the writing to the dad, and he starts grilling the dad, asking about the writing, insinuating that maybe he had tried to bring her back to life and that the dead should always stay dead. Sam tries to stop Dean, get him out of there, apologize for his brother, insist that the father doesn't seem to have had anything to do with this. Confronts Dean about his behavior, about his attitude, about the way that he is getting down on people, the fact that he has not grieved his father, and that he is really not dealing with the death at all. Her friend has brought her back from the dead. Zombie girl is going on little revenge side quests and coming back and telling him that she would never do something like that. And the next step on the dead girl's quest for revenge is to get back at her roommate, who apparently was the one who was sleeping with her ex. The cheater girl managed to fight her off, stab her with a pair of scissors. That did not kill her, it just knocked her down for a little bit. And then Sam and Dean shot her in the chest, but she just kept right on going. They go to confront the friend who they are pretty certain brought Zombie Girl back to life. He insists that she's not where he is right now, yet they turn around and they see these dead plants, which kind of gives away that she is right there with him. They leave him with a few wise words that appear to be with understanding that he might be in danger from her. His situation with her has gotten rather precarious. He starts to get afraid of her, and she figures out that he has turned on her and snaps his neck. But with the help of the now dead friend's actions and Dean pretending to perform a ritual, they draw her back to her grave where she is shot in the head, but again keeps on going. And this is one of the things Sam said when Dean and him were talking about how to kill a zombie. There were so many stories about how to possibly kill a zombie that it's really hard to say which of them are actually true and which of them are full of shit. And so far, everything they've tried barely resulted in slowing her down. After Dean shoots her over and over again in the chest, finally knocks her into the grave, he runs over to the grave, stabs her in the chest, gets up, and it finally looks like she might actually be down, and he looks down at her and tells her to stay dead. Like things throughout this episode where Dean is like, the dead should always be dead, they should stay dead, you should never revive the dead, and we're going to hear why this is. Dean is driving down a long straight road and he pulls off to the side to have a little discussion, explaining himself, why he's been behaving this way, how he's really been feeling. Basically tells Sam that he blames himself for his dad dying because he believes that he died and he was brought back to life, and that is why all this is happening. And so he feels very guilty, and he feels like it was unnatural and he should not have been brought back to life. This is Supernatural. We're going to see many, many, many more people be brought back to life many, many more times throughout the series. I think Dean's got a long way to go, seeing lots more dead people, and he's going to be one of the ones bringing people back to life. Anyway, at least he had a good discussion and got that out in the air, and that can at least help him try to grieve and deal with things a little better rather than just shutting it all up inside and not saying anything. This is Season 2, Episode 5, called Simon Said. We start out at the beginning of the episode. This guy has just gotten a call, and he goes into a gun shop, asks for a gun, which the gun seller seems very surprised by, so this seems to be out of character for the person. Guy starts to load the weapon, and then he shoots the salesman and proceeds to do this, where he is killing himself. Repeated mantra throughout this episode says, It's all gonna be okay. Right after that scene plays out, we see Sam in here apparently having a premonition. He is in the bathroom freaking out. Plus, I think it hurts his head, so the entire experience is unpleasant. Sam convinces Dean to take him to the roadhouse so that he can talk to Ash. But Dean is not very happy about this. He thinks it's a bad idea, so they at least try to hide from them why they are asking for information. Either way, in the vision, Sam sees this bus emblem. Ash does figure out where this is. When he falls short of finding anything really going on in the area, Sam asks him to find information similar to what his family went through when he was a baby. When Jo is talking to Dean, she finds out a little bit about what is going on and suggests that she could help them. And he's like, I am not taking you with me because I think if I were to bring you with me, your mom just might kill me. This is the look that she has on her face. And Jo is like, you afraid of my mother? And Dean is like, yeah, I think I am. Ash is able to pull up information on this guy. Dean follows him, and when he sees him, he comes up to Dean, starts talking about the car, touches him, asks Dean if he can have it, and Dean's like, yeah, hop right in. He just lets him go in the car and drive right off without fighting about it. As Sam is talking to Dean over the phone and Dean tells him that the guy Obi-Wan Kenobi'd his ass, the person that Sam was trying to save walks right out in front of a bus. He thought that he stopped this event from happening, but the guy killed himself in a different way. At least, though, in my opinion, the shopkeeper did not get killed. Sam saw the guy that they were following in Dean's car on the cell phone at the same time that the old guy was on the cell phone before he ran into the bus. They both knew they would need to follow him, and Dean's like, well, there's no better way to keep an eye on this guy than his disco layer of a van that very much sticks out. Now, the guy Sam and Dean are tailing confronts them and tells them to stop following him, but the powers that he has do not work on Sam. And they both seem to have this connection, but the powers were definitely working on Dean. And Dean, ever since that guy touched him and talked to him, has been like acting like he couldn't do anything wrong and he couldn't possibly be a killer. Maybe he got some sixth sense from him. Maybe it's because the guy mind controlled him and is just making him feel like he couldn't be that way, or maybe that mind control actually kind of gives him some sort of sense as to how this guy is. I don't know. But as they're confronting each other, Sam has one of his visions of this lady burning herself alive. And the guy they're following is with them the whole time. He is not on the phone. He's not talking to her. She ends up dying right after they figure this out. But as they're talking to this guy, they find out that he's actually been adopted and they can't really access the records, so they have to go through some of the crazy stuff that they do, along with using Andrew here's powers to gain access. They find out the lady that just died was his birth mother. The black guy that died earlier was the doctor who adopted him out. And he has a twin brother, and they're thinking that has to be who's actually carrying out these murders. And of course, this guy over here is freaking out because he just found out he's got an evil twin brother that's going around killing all these people. Now, Andrew and Anson get to meet, and Anson proceeds to tell his twin brother about how this guy with yellow eyes has been telling him how special he is and how he's going to help him out. It appears from what he says that most of the killings he's doing are what he wants, because he says the doctor and their birth mom had them separated, that they should be punished for what they did. And he's trying to get the girl that seemed to be somewhat close to his brother killed by having her jump off a bridge because he says that she was getting in between them. While Andrew tries to talk his brother down, Dean gets ready to shoot the guy, but using his mind powers, he tries to have Dean pull the gun on himself. While that's happening, Andrew pulls a gun on his brother and kills him. The girl is saved. That was the first time that he actually ever used mind control on her, and she had also been mind controlled by his brother. I think the whole parallels of the experience is freaking her out. Don't blame her at all. Sam also points out now he's a killer too because he killed his brother, and Dean's like, it's not the same thing. He was pushed to it. And these other people that have been in the same predicament that killed people were driven to it as well, which means that any of us can be driven to murder under the right circumstances. Eldon calls Sam and Dean back to the roadhouse to confront them. She has been finding that all these cases are the same as what Sam and Dean went through when they were young. She says that obviously something big and something awful is happening, and there is a war going on, and we need to be prepared for it. Dean tries to tell her this is a family affair. She's like, no, we all need to be getting ready for whatever this is. So after Sam and Dean explain people around his age that are going through the same thing and that they're all connected to Old Yellow Eyes, she asks, well, how many of them are there? And that is where the episode ends. All right, and that is it for episodes 1 through 5 of season 2. I will come back to you as soon as I have episodes 6 through 10. Until next time, I'll see you when I see you. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want more content, click subscribe. If you click that little bell and click all, then you'll get more content notifications.